Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. In the headlines, Federal Character Commission commits to its mandate of fairness in distribution of opportunities. Ayo Fayose identifies Peter Obi as the only remaining opposition voice in Nigeria. Conservative Quiroga closes campaign in Bolivia with polls on his side. And Poland's Sikorski says Europe must prepare for deep Russian strike. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
The Federal Character Commission says it is committed to promoting fairness and equity in public appointments and distribution of resources across the Federation. The acting chairman of the commission, Kayode Oladele, gave the assurance at the opening of an executive development program organized by the commission for its directors and top management staff in Abuja.
The Federal Character Commission says it is committed to promoting fairness and equity in public appointments and distribution of resources across the Federation. The acting chairman of the commission, Kayode Oladele, gave the assurance at the opening of an executive development program organized by the commission for its directors and top management staff in Abuja.
When citizens perceive fairness in the distribution of employments and appointments and opportunities, they develop confidence in the state. Conversely, when exclusion or perceived prejudice undermines national unity and triggers disaffection. The current geopolitical distribution of appointments at the federal level demonstrates a clear move towards proportional representation.
The Federal Character Commission was established in 1996 with the primary purpose of implementing the principle of federal character, ensuring fairness and equity in the distribution of public posts, employment and socio-economic infrastructure across country. The Act gives the FCC the power to monitor, enforce and sanction ministries, departments and agencies (MDAs) that fail to comply with equitable representation guidelines. The extent to which this mandate remains questionable, with claims of exclusion and marginalization by certain groups and sections of the country in national development, which could undermine national unity and fuel public disaffection. But the acting chairman of the commission, Kayode Oladele, has acknowledged the need to correct the perception to give citizens a sense of fairness in the distribution of appointments, contracts and opportunities.
Every commissioner, every director and officer of the Federal Character Commission must view themselves as custodians of national trust. We must internalize the following principles: equity as a way of life. Fairness must guide every decision we make. Accountability as culture. Transparency should not be a slogan, but a daily practice. Teamwork as a strategy. Collaboration between headquarters and field officers and state offices must be seamless. Integrity as foundation. We must resist pressures that compromise our neutrality. Of course, innovation as a habit. Adopting modern tools, research, and data analytics to enhance compliance.
The newly appointed secretary to the commission, Mohammed Musa, said the workshop was designed to strengthen management capacity and leadership performance. Musa reiterated the commission's commitment to ensuring fairness and equitable distribution of appointments and socioeconomic amenities across the Federation.
We look forward that at the end of the workshop, the director will be able to acquaint himself with the new developments in leadership and management, and they will also be ready to put more on their performance. I think it will increase their performance towards achieving the mandate and the commission and the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President.
The Director, Public Affairs and Communication at the Commission, Chizie Chukwudi, described the workshop as apt and timely, coming to a time when the Commission sought to correct public misconceptions.
The workshop is very apt and timely, particularly coming from a place where the Commission had a very negative perception in the public. The workshop is to at least strengthen the management staff in performing their role with a view to correcting the narratives in the public.
The workshop, which has its theme Strengthening Leadership and Management Excellence in the Federal Character Commission, is aimed at repositioning the organization to discharge its mandate more effectively.
Former presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, has dismissed fears of Nigeria sliding into a one-party state. He said that there is no political party that can capture any region simply because a governor defects to it. Obi stated this in Abuja while reacting to the recent defection of Enugu State Governor Peter Mba and his Bayelsa counterpart, Duye Diri, to the ruling All Progressives Congress. According to him, the idea that a state can be captured by a political party through the defection of its leader belongs to Nigeria's military past. The former Anambra State governor also dismissed the notion that the Southeast could be captured politically, insisting that leadership in a democracy is about persuasion, not coercion. The politician called on public officials to focus on good governance and policies that directly improve the lives of citizens, warning that no amount of political realignment can guarantee loyalty from the people without performance. Former Bayelsa State Governor Seraki Dixon has voiced strong criticism of Governor Duye Diri defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. The former Bayelsa State Governor described the move as a setback to Nigeria's multi-party democracy. Speaking in Abuja on Wednesday, Dixon acknowledged that the ongoing internal crisis within the PDP and weak national leadership have significantly weakened democratic growth in the country. He expressed concern over the impact of defections like Governor Diri's, warning they undermine political stability and democratic diversity.
In this case, the governor consulted me several times to his credit. And I was not convinced because I didn't see any compelling reason for a second-term governor to defect. No reason. And we know the issues in the PDP, but issues are there to be solved by the governors and the leaders. Have they not been the leaders of the parties? And if we don't succeed in retrieving the PDP, in saving the PDP, then we'll be part of a collective decision, which again should not be the ruling party, because I believe there must be opposition. A democracy without opposition ceases to be democracy. It becomes dictatorship from that day. It becomes totalitarianism from that day. Position does not mean you have to be fighting. You have to be, here am I, supporting the president's nomination. By the Constitution, it is the responsibility of the president to forward a name of INEC chairman to us. And he has done that. I know there are people who say a president who is partisan should not have that power. But that is not the law as it is. That is the law as it ought to be, probably.
Former Ekiti State Governor Ayo Fayose says the Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate, Peter Obi, is the only remaining opposition voice in Nigeria. Fayose, who made the remark in a media chat, maintained that Obi is the only voice that still has traction and still talking. He noted that Obi is everywhere despite not being in government, noting that opposition politicians like former Vice President Atiku Abubakar are just filling the gap and that people do not listen to them anymore. Fayose, however, dismissed any threat by the African Democratic Congress to the ruling APC, predicting that no one would defeat President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 presidential election. The former Ekiti State governor said his support for President Tinubu does not mean he is hobnobbing with the APC, maintaining that his support for the president is not for personal gain. Fayose exonerated President Tinubu from the crisis rocking the PDP, hinting that the few governors remaining in the PDP are considering dumping the main opposition party. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake, says schools in Nigeria charging tuition fees in foreign currencies should be closed. Alake, who made the call at the Nigeria Gold Day celebration on the sidelines of the 10th edition of Nigeria's Mining Week in Abuja, criticized the practice and described it as a part of the leakages and loopholes in Nigeria's economy, threatening its growth. The minister said he is going to make a proposal to the Federal Executive Council to that effect because of the leakages and loopholes that such practice creates in the economy, which people do not take seriously. He said the federal government was introducing various measures, including digital mechanisms, to ensure that all leakages in Nigeria's gold value chain were blocked and every loophole sealed. The federal government's National Gold Purchase Program, implemented through the Solid Minerals Development Fund, was designed to shore up Nigeria's foreign reserves and strengthen the naira. The National Association of Nigerian Students has issued a 7-day ultimatum to the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities to resolve their ongoing disputes and prevent another strike action that could disrupt the nation's academic calendar. The ultimatum was contained in a statement signed by NAN's president, Olushola Oladoja, on Wednesday. The students' body expressed concern over the growing tension between the government and ASU, warning that any disruption to the academic calendar would be unacceptable to Nigerian students. The NAN's president explained that the education sector had enjoyed 2 uninterrupted academic years under the present administration, which had not been recorded since the return to democracy in 1999. He warned that Nigerian students, many of whom are now studying through educational loans, cannot afford to have their academic calendar disrupted or their duration on campus extended again. The Lagos State government has faulted the National Assembly over the proposed Central Gaming Bill, warning that its passage would violate the Nigerian Constitution and a subsisting Supreme Court judgment. The Lagos State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Lawal Pedro, a senior advocate of Nigeria, told a news conference in Lagos that the move by the National Assembly is a voyage of unconstitutionality. Pedro said that as the Chief Law Officer of Lagos State, it is both his constitutional duty and responsibility to draw the nation's attention to the steps being taken by the National Assembly to pass such a bill. He said the legislature cannot directly overturn a specific Supreme Court judgment, even though it can indirectly nullify its effect by changing the underlying law on which the judgment was based to remove the foundation of the judgment. According to a report by the National Assembly Library Trust Fund, the Central Gaming Bill 2025 was presented for concurrence during Senate plenary on October 7, 2025. The bill seeks to establish a comprehensive regulatory framework for online and remote gaming, aiming to replace the previously repealed National Lottery Act of 2005. Up ahead, Jonathan Slam's successor for abandoning Bielsa projects. Residents protest high electricity tariff imposition in Abia State. Details in a moment.
We are local.
The international community is observing just finished taking it.
Where the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan has lamented the abandonment of key projects he initiated as governor of Bayelsa State, blaming successive administrations for failing to sustain his development agenda. Speaking at the inauguration of a hotel complex in Yenagoa, Jonathan said he had begun several projects to attract tourism and investment to the state before he became vice president in 2007, but noted that those projects were abandoned after he left office, describing the trend as a major source of waste in governance. The former president recalled that his administration had invested in the hospitality sector to make Yenagoa more appealing to visitors, especially during the African Movie Academy Awards, which Bayelsa hosted at the time. In his remarks, Governor Doye Diri described the project as a landmark development that would boost the hospitality sector, create jobs, and encourage more private investment. The launch of the hotel complex marks a new phase in Yenagoa's emergence as a destination for tourism, investment, and premium hospitality in the Niger Delta. Some of the residents of Umuahia, the Abia State capital, have protested what they say is the harsh and unbearable electricity bills imposed on them by the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company. The protesters, who marched from the EEDC Umuahia office to Abia Government House, carried placards. Some of the inscriptions stated, "We cannot pay 50,000 naira bill. Return electricity bill back to status quo. Electricity bill is now minimum wage," among others, insisting that they no longer cope with the excessive charges and demanded immediate reduction to the former rate. Leader of the group, Chukwuemeka Ozugbo, said they gathered peacefully to express frustration over the recent sharp increase in electricity charges, explaining that most households previously paid about 10,000 naira monthly, but now receive bills between 50,000 naira and 70,000 naira without any corresponding improvement in power supply. He demanded that the company revert to the previous billing rate of about 10,000 naira per household, pointing out that many residents were on postpaid estimated billing and rarely enjoyed consistent electricity. Responding on behalf of the state governor, Alex Oti, the Commissioner for Power and Public Utilities, Ikechukwu Monday, assured residents that their grievances would be officially addressed and resolved through peaceful and structured engagement, and commended them for their peaceful conduct. Monday stated that the government's priority was ensuring that residents are fairly billed, stressing that citizens should only pay for electricity consumed. The Rivers State Police Command said its men have arrested 2 notorious kidnappers in their hideout in Egui community in Eche local government area of Rivers State. The police said the suspects lured their victim through a dating site before she was abducted and subsequently collected a ransom of 200,000 naira from her family. The spokesperson for the State Police Command, Grace Iringe Koko, disclosed this in a statement issued in Port Harcourt, said the 2 suspects, aged 25 years, were nabbed following a discreet investigation by operatives of the command special. She said upon interrogation, the suspects confessed to the crime and narrated how they lured the young girl. The state police image maker gave the names of the suspects as Ifeanyi Chukwualozie from Okomoko, Eche local government area, and Miracle Nwimene from Zapo, Kana local government area. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Olugbenga Adepoju, has commended the bravery and dedication of the operatives in apprehending the suspects. Adepoju assured the public that the command under his watch remains committed to ensuring their safety and security. The Nigeria Police Force has expressed concern over the growing lack of coordination and understanding between police officers and lawyers in enforcing court orders involving criminal suspects. The head of the legal department of Zone 1 headquarters in Kano, Nura Saidu, made this known during a stakeholders meeting organized by Partners West Africa Nigeria in collaboration with the Issa Wali Empowerment Initiative, aimed at strengthening cooperation and promoting harmony between the police and the legal community. Nura noted that the absence of synergy and mutual understanding between police officers and lawyers often causes delays in enforcing court orders, which can disrupt the administration of justice and threaten public peace. He emphasized the need to clearly define the roles and boundaries of each party to avoid interference, conflict, and procedural breakdowns that could undermine the justice system. The Nigerian Senate has taken an important step toward improving care for sickle cell disorder nationwide with a bill to establish sickle cell disorder research and therapy centers across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones and the FCT, scaling second reading in the Senate. The bill, sponsored by Senator Sunday Katong, seeks to improve data collection and research, support education and assistance for patients, families, providers, and communities affected by sickle cell disorder.
Objectives of the bill. The objectives of the bill are to, 1, provide a legal and institutional framework for the establishment of 6 sickle cell disorder and therapy centers with 1 in each geopolitical zones in Nigeria, and to provide for the due management and administration of the sickle cell centers. 2, provide facilities for diagnosis, curative, rehabilitative services for sickle cell disorder, as also improve access to specialized sickle cell disorder care.
Chief Whip of the Senate, Tahir Monguno, urged relevant agencies to increase public sensitization on genotype compatibility ahead of marriage to prevent transmission of the disorder.
One of the causes of the sickle cell disease is mismatch of the blood group between the 2 parents. So once there is sensitization, and then this test is being done, where the blood did not correspond, then I think the marriage should be aborted instead of bringing untold hardship to the parents.
In support, other senators described the bill as long overdue and critical, highlighting the genetic nature of the disease and the urgent need for public awareness about its causes.
And I don't think we have paid attention to this enough. So this bill is completely timely. It will have come before now, but no time is late for us to have centers where we can provide therapy for sickle cell patients.
Chief, with that, let's do the prevention, even along with the cure, because most people don't even know the genotype. Even here, when you do sample, people don't even know their genotype. You see AS marrying SS, it's risky. Or SS and SS, it's risky. So prevention is far, far better than cure. It's always better that you can even be an SS and marry AA. They will tell you, but most people don't even have the enlightenment and the education to even know whom to marry.
Here is that rather than establishing them as isolated centers, they should be made appendages to the university teaching hospitals in these 6 geopolitical zones. This is mainly to strengthen and broaden and also deepen the research and the therapies. Considering the
most children die in their early stages, sometimes 14, 10 years. But the important thing here is that we need to combine palliative measures with educational enlightenment of parents. Before marriages, couples should be encouraged to go and get their genotype tested and established.
The bill marks a significant legislative effort to address sickle cell disorder through specialized centers strategically located across the country. The Nigerian Senate has raised alarm over the growing abuse, trafficking, and exploitation of Nigerian migrants in Libya. In a motion presented before the Red Chamber, the senator representing Akwa Ibom Northeast, Basi Anaikan, drew attention to the rising number of illegal Nigerian migrants facing grave dangers in the country. He said nearly 1,000 Nigerians were repatriated in the first quarter of 2025 alone, with many recounting horrific experiences of torture, rape, illegal detention, and even organ trafficking.
Worried that such recurring abuses not only diminish Nigeria's international reputation, but also erode citizens' confidence in the government's ability to provide protection both domestically and abroad.
Other lawmakers in their contributions condemned the act, calling on all relevant agencies to do the needful, as well as discourage Nigerians from illegal...
Agencies are not sitting up to their responsibilities to see that this is stopped.
This thing they are doing to Nigerians must stop. Let government use the auspices of the African Union. Any country that is dealing with Africans in this manner shall be blacklisted.
Not just condemn how our people are treated in Libya, but also focus on how to discourage our people from going there. They need to know that that is not a place you go for, quote, greener pasture.
The fact that many of our Nigerian women who found themselves in the Libyan prisons are pregnant, and many have given birth to children who live in the prisons. So I would appreciate the chambers and my colleagues do approve this.
As part of its resolution, the Senate urged the federal government to help returnees from Libya by setting up a support and reintegration program. It also called for a stronger diplomatic effort to protect Nigerians still in detention in that country and to hold those responsible for abuses accountable.
The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and relevant state governments to establish a comprehensive reintegration and protection program for Nigerian returnees from Libya, including psychosocial support, vocational training, and enterprise startup assistance. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Call on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to intensify diplomatic engagement with Libyan authorities and to mobilize collective regional and international action through the AU, ECOWAS, and the United Nations to secure the safety of Nigerians in Libya, in Libyan detention camps, and ensure accountability for human rights violations.
The Take It Back movement, in collaboration with the Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria, has announced plans to stage a protest in Lagos State and other parts of the nation against what they see as unfavorable government policies. The protest, scheduled for Friday, October 17, 2025, aims at demanding an end to anti-people government policies, rising poverty, and forced evictions under President Bola Tinubu's administration. The strike notice, contained in a statement issued on Wednesday by Adekunle Adeyemi Taufik, the Lagos State coordinator of TIB, said the protest will begin at 7 a.m. at the Lagos State House of Assembly, with workers, students, traders, and the unemployed expected to participate in the nationwide demonstration. The group said the protest would be a united call against crippling poverty, exploitative fuel tax, and oppressive tax reforms, which, according to them, have worsened the living conditions of millions of Nigerians. The statement noted that millions of Nigerians have been pushed deeper into poverty in recent months as the cost of living skyrockets beyond survival limits, while tax reform has worsened economic hardship, targeting the poor while protecting the rich. The Renewed Hope Initiative, in collaboration with the Rivers State government, has empowered 800 farmers across the state with farm tools, seedlings, fertilizers, and livestock to boost agricultural production. The empowerment, which targets both crop and livestock farmers, comes a few days after 1,000 women in business benefited from the Economic Empowerment Program jointly implemented by the initiative and the state government.
Days after empowering Rivers women in business through the Renewed Hope Initiative Economic Empowerment Program, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, is launching a healthcare system in the state. Indoors, participants undergo free medical screening ahead of the official launch of the scheme targeting vaccinations against measles, rubella, polio, and HPV. Represented by the wife of the Rivers State Governor Valerie Fubara, Mrs. Tinubu expressed optimism that the vaccination set to begin in February 2026 will record unprecedented success nationwide.
It gives me great pleasure to join the federal government of Nigeria and 18 other Phase 1 states as part of the launch of the largest health initiative in Africa history, targeting 106 million children with measles, rubella, polio, and HPV vaccines. This mass vaccination campaign was officially launched on the 6th of October 2025 by Her Excellency, the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, OON, CON, in Abuja. And being that Rivers State is in the fourth stream of Phase 1 states, the vaccine will be made available in February 2026 across the entirety of the state. Measles is a highly contagious viral disease that can lead to severe complications, including pneumonia and brain swelling. Though preventable with a safe and effective vaccine, it remains a significant cause of death among young children globally, especially in developing countries with weak health infrastructure, and now more frequently observed in developed countries due to dangerous anti-vaccination sentiments. Rubella, also known as German measles, is yet another highly contagious viral infection that is usually mild in children, but can have severe consequences for a fetus if a pregnant woman is infected.
In a separate event, 400 Rivers farmers benefited from the Renew Hope Initiative Agricultural Empowerment Program, with the state government providing additional support for another 400 farmers made up of 100 youths and 300 adults, bringing the total beneficiaries to 800.
A few days ago, while I was reviewing our preparations for this ceremony, I reflected on the several agriculture-based interventions like the Operation Feed the Nation of 1976, the Green Revolution of 1979, and others that were all aimed at providing food for the people. And one key thing about those interventions is that it is the human factor that makes policies successful and impactful. It has therefore become imperative at this time for families to prioritize investments in agriculture and to teach our young ones how to farm. Apart from assisting to grow crops and tend livestock, I enjoin you to see this agricultural support program as an investment that will lead to food surplus and combat scarcity in our nation.
The Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, who was represented by the Deputy Governor, Professor Ngozi Odu, praised the First Lady for the gesture.
Her instrumental role in facilitating and localizing this noble program has yielded tangible impacts, and her leadership in women and youth empowerment deserves our deepest appreciation, and she should be applauded. Beyond the immediate benefits, this program also lays a foundation for a more prosperous and self-reliant River State. It rekindles hope among our people, especially at the grassroots level, that government initiatives can indeed touch lives and transform communities.
The 800 beneficiaries of the Renewed Hope Initiative and Rivers State Government Empowerment Program received farm tools, seedlings, fingerlings, and livestock. They were also given starter packs to boost food production and encourage youth participation in agriculture as one of the ways of encouraging human capital development in the state.
The Education, Social and Health Mission, MESH, a humanitarian arm of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, has advised married women to be conscious of their cancer status. The group gave the advice as a sensitization program on the risks of cancer held in Abuja, from where correspondent Nasiru Usman reports.
October of every year is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. By United Nations figures, breast cancer affects over 2.3 million women every year. In Nigeria, breast cancer is the most common cancer among Nigerian women, making up about 25% of new cancer cases. It is also the leading cause of death in women from cancer-related health challenges, especially when detected late. For this reason, the Education, Social and Health Mission MESH addressed married women in Abuja to draw attention to common risk factors, the treatment and prevention of breast cancer.
We are here in the under Islamia in Kubwa. We've been another one, all in Kubwa community. As part of our community awareness, cancer community awareness, what we did is to bring the cancer education close to the women. They've been taught how to examine themselves, how to notice the little signs in their body, what we to do for them, so that if there's anything, they can catch it as early as possible. As we all know that prevention is far more better than cure. So the women today, they have been taught a lot about breast cancer and cervical cancer. And we also have a platform where they can also come for a screening. That's the See Her Care Cancer Clinic that MESH is organizing at the National Mosque. So we invited the women to come for the screening cancer. And by tomorrow, as part of our activities, we're also going to have another screening test for the women at Kubwa Muslim Community Hospital here in Kubwa, where we'll be supporting about 20 women for free screening of cancer and cervical cancer. This is part of our own activities in the month of October to ensure to align with the global awareness and campaign about breast cancer.
Director Nursing, Buhari General Hospital, Abiba Umar, thanked the federal government for its support to the treatment of cancer patients in Nigeria.
Through the Federal Ministry of Health, there are some funds that some donors and the federal government have kept aside for those who cannot afford their medication for cancer. Once we identify them, we collaborate with those people from Federal Ministry of Health to see how they can access those free drugs from our tertiary institution, especially the National Hospital Abuja. Some are at subsidized rate, while some are free.
We actually enlighten them on the causes of cancer, predisposing factor, and what we do. I was a patient we treated we saw in the clinic in the National Mosque and was referred to Use Hospital. I think her name is Hajia Zainab. She actually appreciated the support of the MESH. She was so happy, and they paid for her treatment, paid for her surgery, and she had a successful surgery because it was early detected, and she cooperated, and she met the right people who gave her the right treatments.
Today we learn a lot how to examine ourselves in case we are having cancer. We really learn a lot today. We really appreciate you, and for the gift you've given us, we really appreciate. We wish you safe and journey back to your destination.
The federal government has commissioned 3 advanced oncology centers in Katsina, Enugu, and Benin as part of a broader push to expand cancer care infrastructure, make the treatment affordable, and accessible to Nigerians. In Abuja, Nasiru Usman for Signature TV.
Still to come, Swiss Army knife maker works on ways to blunt U.S. tariff pain. Aid trucks bound for Gaza move from Egypt's border of Rafah. These and more after the break.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Conservative former President Jorge Tuto Quiroga closed his campaign on Wednesday in La Paz as the latest poll showed him with an edge heading into the October 19th runoff. The 65-year-old engineer rallied with supporters and members of his Alianza Libre Free Alliance coalition.
Well, we are facing an unprecedented runoff in Bolivia. In the first round there were many candidacies, hundreds of congressional candidates, and enormous confusion, a multitude of voices and proposals. And perhaps it was difficult to tell which path would lead to a solution to the enormous economic crisis Bolivia is suffering after 20 destructive years. And there are no foreign reserves to import fuel, and that's why food production is scarce, and that's why prices are rising. Bolivia is in economic contraction with runaway inflation, the worst of combinations. And people know there is only one proposal that will restore stability, to end the fuel lines, to end inflation, to get dollars circulating again, and to change the economy by modifying the laws on hydrocarbons, lithium, agriculture, and mining, lowering taxes, and creating jobs. I'm asking you, please, to give us your vote, to mark the box for Tuto Quiroga and JP Velasco so that we can have jobs, production, investment, trade, markets. I ask you to ask for the vote on our behalf. For what? To open the doors to change with hope, to the Libra project that ends the crisis, brings investment, opens markets, creates jobs, provides health care, education, infrastructure, deepens autonomy, makes Bolivia digital and technological, and makes Bolivia a nation of property owners.
A long-time opposition figure, Quiroga served as interim president from 2001 to 2002. He has campaigned on promises to stabilize an economy battered by soaring inflation and dwindling foreign reserves. According to the latest poll by Bolivian broadcaster Unitel, released Sunday, Quiroga will win the October 19th runoff with 44.9% of the vote, ahead of centrist opponent Rodrigo Paz at 36.5%. Swiss Army knife maker Victorinox is adapting to a new global market shaped by US President Donald Trump's tariffs, checking packaging strategies, topping up inventories, tightening costs at home, and doing more business in Asia and Latin America. Trump imposed tariffs of 39% on Switzerland in August in a bid to cut the US trade deficit with the Alpine country and to encourage more manufacturing in the United States.
Yes, for us it was really a shock when we heard that, on top of the existing 5% tariff rate, another 39% would be added. If I look at our entire business, the USA makes up 13% of total sales. The most important product category in America is professional and kitchen knives. In that segment, the USA's share of sales is even 18%. We have to try to adjust various levers. Together with our team in the USA, we are considering in which product categories we can more easily raise prices next year without losing market share. Above all, we need to make strong efforts here at headquarters to save even more costs, become even more efficient, and further rationalize production. We are trying to reduce our dependence on the US market by trying to expand more strongly in other markets like Latin America and Asia. So, when I think about the history of Victorinox, we survived the First World War, the Depression, the Second World War, the recession during the oil crisis. We have always overcome major crises. And when I think about the quality of our products, the strong appeal of our brand, and also the high commitment of our employees, I am convinced that we will successfully overcome this very challenging situation as well. I assume that if the tariffs remain at this level, we will have 3 to 5 difficult years. But during these 3 to 5 years, we will reposition ourselves so that we have a successful future.
Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski warned on Tuesday Europe must be prepared for Russia to strike deep into the region, calling it irresponsible not to build defenses such as a drone wall on its eastern flank.
Well, we don't yet know whether the drones over Copenhagen were Russian or not, but they certainly could have been. And that means that just like the Ukrainians from Kazakhstan were able to send their short-range drones deep into Russia, so Russia, using all kinds of ships, clunker feet, whatever, can reach, unfortunately, deep into Europe. And we should be prepared to counter that. And so I think not to build anti-drone and drone capacity these days would be responsible. I hope so. Remember, Ukraine has its own cruise missiles, as the Russians know very well, because it was, the flagship of their Black Sea Fleet was sunk with a couple of those. And I'm sure Reuters is reporting the successful strikes against refineries, against Russian weapons factories, against fuel depots, all legitimate targets. So Ukrainian success should be reinforced.
In London, for an event organized by United Against Nuclear Iran that saw the unveiling of an Iranian Shahed 136 drone downed in Ukraine, Sikorski urged European nations to stay the course in their support of Ukraine, saying he hoped US President Donald Trump would make long-range Tomahawk missiles available to the country to bolster strikes against Russian infrastructure. Providing Ukraine with more ammunition such as anti-aircraft assets, short-range and medium-range weapons was needed to help protect Europe, he said, pointing to incursions by drones over Poland and fighter jets over Estonia. He said it was not yet known whether drones over Copenhagen were Russian. Russian President Vladimir Putin has described as nonsense the idea that his country would potentially target a NATO member. Sikorski, a long-time and strident critic of Putin, urged Europe to also plan to support Ukraine for 3 more years, a time frame he said Kyiv was also planning for. Lawmakers from the left and the far right introduced their respective motions to vote no confidence in the French government in the country's National Assembly on Thursday, criticizing the policies of President Emmanuel Macron. The government, led by Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu, is expected to narrowly survive the votes after pledging to suspend Macron's landmark pension reform to win support from the left. Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right National Rally in the Assembly, said France was exhausted by successive governments under Macron, and she and her allies were waiting with growing impatience for new elections.
This budget is the final act, we hope, of a political system that is out of breath, out of ideas, and which will have produced nothing but a country exhausted by tax cuts and social brutalization. The National Rally, for its part, awaits the day of dissolution with growing impatience. Our 140 deputies from the National Rally and the UDR, Union of the Right for the Republic, are eager to return to the French people. Because they will be able to look their voters straight in the eye. Because they will be able to tell of their actions at the National Assembly with pride. Because they will be able to say that they have honored the moral contract that binds them to their compatriots. Because they will be the artisans of the great national recovery within a clear majority that will be returned to our country by its only sovereign, the people. This budget is the final act, we hope, of a political system that is out of breath, out of ideas, and which will have produced nothing but a country
Up next is sports news.
Nigeria's bid to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games has come to naught following the Commonwealth Board's recommendation of India's Ahmedabad as the host city for the Centenary Games. Nigeria presented Abuja as its host city for the 2030 Games, while India put forward Ahmedabad. A final decision will be taken on November 26 at the body's General Assembly, where the full membership of Commonwealth Sport will deliberate on it. Getting the Games hosting right would also be significant in India's quest to become an Olympic host in 2036, also in Ahmedabad. The board said it will propose that Ahmedabad, in the western Indian state of Gujarat, be granted full Commonwealth Sport membership for approval at the General Assembly in Glasgow on November 26. The Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) has announced that the matchday 9th fixture between Barrow FC and Kano Pillars will be played behind closed doors on Sunday. In a letter signed by the NPFL Chief Operating Officer David Sinawumi, the league body stated that the decision was taken for safety reasons. The statement further added that only referees, council members, State Football Association officials, accredited members of the press, and security personnel be allowed into the stadium. Barrow FC has accepted the NPFL's decision, despite earlier efforts to allow fans entry into the stadium. The NPFL matchday 9th fixture between Barrow FC and Kano Pillars is scheduled for Sunday, 19th October 2025 at 4 p.m. at the Sani Abacha Stadium. Manchester City are plotting a £75 million bid for the Nottingham Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson next summer, but are likely to face stiff competition from Chelsea for the 22-year-old England international. In tennis, a fan was hauled off the court by security after approaching world number 2 Yannick Sinner at the Six Kings Slam in Riyadh. After a solid 6-2, 6-3 victory over Stefanos Tsitsipas in his opening match on Wednesday, Sinner was confronted by a young lad seemingly asking for his jacket post-match. The fan approached Sinner, shook his hand and gestured repeatedly towards his jacket. The chat wasn't captured by microphones, but the full-time major winner appeared puzzled as the boy tapped his jacket before pointing to himself. A security guard swooped in, grabbing the boy and pulling him away from Sinner so the world number 2 could exit the court. Sinner was making his comeback after retiring from the recent Shanghai Masters due to the grueling hot and humid conditions. That's Sport News. On Signature TV, I am Christopher Lele.
That's the news this hour. I am Uchenna Chimdi Oluoha. Thanks for watching.
Nigeria's bid to